to Rich Baker and Friends. My name is Rich Baker. I'm joined with three friends that I'm very excited about. Seth Brown, Cole Stratton, Dan Oster. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being on.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Greetings.
Greetings. The four of us, for people watching this, we are all in Mission Improbable, which is if they don't know what that is, it's a comedy troupe where we improvise. We're all comedians of different, been doing it forever. But the reason I asked the four of us specifically to be on the show together is because we four, of all the people in MI, or even most of the comedians I know, we love doing the voices. Like, you guys are all big, we're all big voices guys, just jumping in, doing impressions and different things like that. So
using the power of speech. Yeah. I'm big on it.
Words. Yeah, but like, we don't just say words, we say them in other people's voices, which I think is, not everyone does that. And I think as someone who does, I think anytime I meet another comedian or performer who does that, I think, oh, we all do that. But that's not true. Like, I'd say we're only a fraction part of the comedy performer community.
The important thing is that when you're going to do it, you start it off like, what if Robert De Niro was in The Wizard of Oz? I think it would go a little something like this.
Sir, there's a lot of people behind you in line.
Fucking us. We're in us. Is there like one guy or one person who's like famous for saying that? Because I've heard that so many times.
I mean, it's so funny. I have a lot of like self-loathing when it comes to this stuff. Like the way Cole laid it out there, I sort of feel that way about impressions sometimes. So I sort of don't pimp myself that much, but even though I secretly love to do it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
for people who are non-improvisers, the term pimping means setting up.
Oh no, it's how I make an extra scratch during the quarantine.
The term means that you are set up by a player or yourself to do something, either to do a game or to do a vocal choice. And so that's a common improv term, is you've been pimped to do something. And so
good call, Seth. That people might think Dan's got a whole life going on.
But I was using the primary definition.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you for this. No, that's right. So it's funny because like I love it as much as I assume the rest of you guys do, and yet for some reason I feel like I don't know. I feel like I have to be like coaxed out to do it. So that's why it's fun to be here today.
Well, there is a little bit of like, it can almost feel self-indulgent if you pimp your, like if you prompt yourself into doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what it, that kind of thing. But but one of my favorite things is like when it's part of the game to like, and the audience doesn't know you can do impressions, and they're like, oh my God, he's got to do Christopher Walken, and then we just bust out with it. And they're like, what?
But it's always that thing when you're given impressions by people that don't, whether it's the audience or other players, right? And it'll be like Rebecca De Mornay or something. Be like, oh, thanks.
So now
everybody does a De Mornay. I mean, what are you saying?
I do it if there's a pool table nearby. I need to lay out in a sweater dress.
That's a physical impression.
It's a physical impression.
Boy, my hand sure is rocking the cradle.
She always says that.
That is exactly what she said. Yeah, dead on. Nailed it.
So De Mornay. Everyone does that with De Mornay. It's kind of
I mean,
I'm in business, risky business.
Oh,
she wasn't that, right?
Yeah, she was. That scene was deleted, but yeah, she was.
Thank God. Okay, great.
It's like we're both trying to be feds.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. If there was an audience, they'd be going dun dun. Feds. Dun dun. Feds.
Oh man, the Rebecca De Mornay material just writes itself, guys.
The De Morneys, all the De Mornay heads out there.
De Mornay and De Morning.
Rebecca and De Morning with Rebecca De Morning.
Rebecca De Mornings.
Oh God, amazing. I love. We just don't know where this is going to go. All right, so let's start. Before we get into doing the voices, let's just start. So Seth, let's start with you. Do you remember the first impression that you did?
I come from the emulator school, where that is, my first impressions were actually other people's impressions. Mm-hmm. So I stole, ironically, I stole a lot from Kevin Pollak, who I now kind of know a little bit, and then a lot from Dana Carvey.
Sure.
And a lot of the SNL, that I kind of came into my powers, I guess, during that period, and when SNL had a lot of good impressionists. Like they had Phil Hartman on there, they had Dana Carvey, they had a few people who could just really pick one thing. And so I started doing like Dana Carvey's Carson, I think, was one of the first ones I really remember like nailing, because he was still big when I was a kid. So just having that Dana Carvey-esque tap kind of gave, like, I remember doing that as a young kid because the adults knew who I was doing. And that was great. That was really wild stuff. That's what I did. Like, I've always been the kid who wanted to impress the adults. And that was, impressionism was one of the few things that a kid could do that could really impress an adult, because I didn't have the depth of comedic knowledge that I had then, but if I could do the voice, people were like, hey, that's funny. The kid is funny.
It's also really impressive when like a child is doing Johnny Carson.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
You are Carney.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey there, Ralphie boy. Dan, do you remember your first impression?
Yeah, I think so. I remember the first time I was like, oh, I can do this. I was really, this is a phase that has not left me, but I watched a lot of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in my life.
Sure.
And Sean Connery, there's the ones that are kind of the green circle on the ski slope, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Slope ones, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sean Connery. I mean, those are the ones that you can really kind of get started on. And so I remember,
those are the gateway impressions.
Right.
First impressions free, kid. First impressions free.
I can't believe you just used that term. That's so offensive. But anyway, I remember like being in like music appreciation class and like not appreciating the music, and I just started going like, only in a leap from the lion's head shall he prove his wealth. Like starting doing stuff like that to myself. And so I remember that was probably my first one, and I was I had to at least have been 8 or 9. But it was something around then, and just started doing that. And then somebody was like, hey, that's pretty good. And I was like, okay, all right.
All right. Attention, I'll take more. Yeah. Cole, do you remember your first impression was?
Yeah, I mean, I think I started doing cartoon voices because I was watching a lot of cartoons when I was a kid. So, like a lot of the Hanna-Barberas, but I think the one I did the most was Shaggy. That was the first thing I figured out that I could do, which leads to Casey Kasem.
Right, that was a Casey Kasem one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He did Shaggy and Scooby?
He just did, Frank Welker did Scooby, I believe.
Okay.
But,
before you know it, you're doing Casey Kasem, you're doing Robin from some of the Super Friends shows.
Right. So I figured I could do that kind of early. So, it's just like kind of like this, Scoob. Oh, zoinks. And then, of course, that leads to Casey Kasem. But yeah, just all the Hanna-Barbera voices, all that kind of shit. And then, then similar to Seth and the SNL stuff, you figure out, like, you borrow, like, Jay Moore's Christopher Walken, which is really Kevin Pollak's Christopher Walken, which is, that kind of thing. I feel like there's a stable of people that everybody who's an impressionist can do.
Yeah.
You try to not, like, trot it out too often because other people are noteworthy for it. It's the ones that you figure out that only you or a handful of people do, or those are the ones that are your money impressions. Otherwise, like, everybody can do a passable Walken or De Niro or Pacino or whatever. But to do things that are a little more off the beaten path, that's where it really marks you as an impressionist.
It's an interesting area when it's like the ethics of impressions, right? Because if you're just taking it from somebody, and I think in certain contexts that's probably okay, like an improv show where you've been again, pimped out on the fly to do Christopher Walken. You go with the Walkens that have gone before, sure. Kevin Pollak or things like that. But when you're developing one, I think we all have kind of that satisfaction that comes from like, no, I'm going to figure this one out. I'm going to unlock this and make it my own. And then the other interesting thing about that is you can have 5 impressions of somebody that are all great and all different.
Yeah. I remember, I can relate to everything that you're all saying as far as like taking impressions from other impressionists and, like people who have just very distinctive voices. The first one that I remember doing was Scrooge McDuck because I was a big fan of DuckTales. And I wasn't even like intentionally doing it. I remember I was talking to, someone at school and I was like, did you see the latest DuckTales or something? I was telling them about it and they were like, no.
We were some cool kids.
I was like, that's
water cooler DuckTales talk.
Yeah, second grade, baby. Like we had some real. But I just remember going, and this one part where Scrooge McDuck was David and his money bent, and I just like busted out the voice, and I didn't even really think about that I was doing it. I was just like telling the story of the episode,
and that of course gets you to Ewan McGregor.
Sure.
And so on.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I'd actually to talk about the idea of like a lot of impressionists. Most of what I do, and I think you've already said it, is impressions of other people's impressions. Right. So it's like cartoon voices. While they're not necessarily impressions, there's someone doing an affected version of their voice, and for some reason that's easier to kind of get your head around.
Yeah, well, it's like a caricature in terms of drawing, right? Like it's easier to see the features when they've already been exaggerated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does have kind of a long face,
Well, the first half of my impressionist stuff was very much bigger. Bigger was better. Like taking my old Arnold, when he first he's like, we got to go. But then, like, as you get younger or as you get more mature, and you start to realize that the more subtle you can make it, the better it actually becomes. So that if you can do less and still get it across, like if you can take Arnold and take him down and say such things as this instead of being so big, you can actually play with the syntax, and that's where you really get the impression down. And that's the thing that really I've learned in my second half of my career is take an edge.
It's like a gourmet. That's like a gourmet meal with like subtle flavors.
Right. And you can't do them all.
It's easier to do the people that have big personalities. The hardest and the best impressions are the picking of people that you can't distinctively think of how they sound. Like if you think about it, you're like, I don't know that. But then when you do it, somebody's like, oh my God, that's exactly it.
Well, people also get easier to impersonate as they get older. You know what I mean? We all become kind of more ourselves as time goes on, I think. So that helps. The younger people are like, nah, you're bland. You're not there yet.
Also, I have this weird, this is just a hypothesis. I don't know. Tell me if y'all agree, but I feel like in the 80s and early 90s specifically, there were a lot of famous people who had very distinctive voices, right? Like, we don't have not that I can think of at least, like a ton of Gilbert Gottfrieds.
Well, this is my point, though, because I feel like we now have this obsession with youth in terms of casting people that are going to appeal. So you're getting these younger people who are not that distinctive. And I feel like in the 80s and 90s, you could have a movie where the lead was like in their 50s and they were at that point.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about is I have randomly all these old people, and like I do like 6 or 7 people who are dead. And I realized it was because the Cary Grants or the James Masons and all these people that came out of radio originally. So all these classic actors like Jimmy Stewart, like all had voices that they had to portray through radio, and that was their one communication source. So you had all these unique voices like James Mason, Gregory Peck,
George Burns,
all these huge, like very easily grabbable people, because that's their original medium was just their voice, and they had to be unique. So I think the 80s, somehow we managed to keep that in the 80s, but like since then it's really become more of everything's become more visual, so now people aren't focusing on interesting voices anymore.
We're going to get a generation of podcasters that have turned into movie stars, and it's going to come back.
Oh,
there you go.
This really takes you out of the movie, though, when they have to talk about stamps.com for 30 seconds. Rough, man.
Yeah.
What's interesting that I thought about, like, I can do but I can do a version of every president since Kennedy.
Really?
And if you think about it, like, well, not Gerald Ford, because I have no idea what he sounds like, but of all the cross section of people out there, you get actors and musicians and different people and athletes that really impersonate, but like, because we can all do a Clinton, I'm sure, right? We can all do a George Bush. We can all do a W.
And Clinton
Bush.
would all do us, given the chance.
Hey,
we can all do an Obama, even though I'm not sure we're supposed to.
Whoa. I love my Obama. I'm not giving my Obama up. Here, I'll turn the camera off.
I get that.
It's all right, but I'm doing it. I don't feel like I'm appropriating a single thing.
I think Barack Obama would appreciate that we can do a Barack Obama.
Actually, Obama is one of those ones that's like, I mean, I love doing it, but I'm not going to lie. I've gone through some like really difficult times in the last couple of years, and I will have his voice in my head, like being like, Dan, hang on a second. Dan, you're doing fine. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you're doing your best. It actually makes me feel better.
Oh,
I mean,
Just do-
one of the things I cultivated was a bunch of impressions of distinguished black actors, and I'm like, I can't use these anywhere. I mean, they're fun to do, but I can't really.
The good news is society is breaking down and will regress back to the point where you can.
Okay,
So-
good.
and that is the question that we're always haunted with as being white male performers is what impressions can we do and what impressions can't we do. And I've always been of the school of thought is there's an improv philosophy that says play to the height of your intelligence, and that means playing to the height of your intelligence of your character too. So if you don't do a mockish version, I'm of the Scott belief that you can do any voice if you do it properly and you do it respectfully.
I couldn't.
That is not shared with everyone.
No, I can
So-
agree with you more though, Seth. I mean, first of all, yeah, it's shared by a lot of people who can't do fucking voices. So let's start there. Real easy to say that. But I couldn't agree with you more, Seth. And I think that also extends out into like improv shows where like, look, we only have 4 people on this stage and it's clear that we need somebody to play, I don't know, a woman or somebody of a different ethnicity or something like that, just because that's what's called for by the circumstances of the scene. And I do maintain that if you do it with empathy and compassion and, you know, a sense of who this character is emotionally and not just doing a mockery, audiences, even in 2020, they get it and they go with it.
That's true.
But if you do it in bad faith, yeah, you're gonna get excoriated.
Everyone agreed that doing an impression, as long as it was tasteful, was the way to go. They weren't sure if this would make it onto YouTube, but they thought it would. And so they carried on, doing the only thing that 4 white people can do on the internet, giving their opinions. Say what to know.
I like that Morgan Freeman. I hope he periodically comes on during this show and just gives our inner monologues.
See, to me, it's worse. It's worse. A white guy
with the camera
hiding to do. Yeah, I'm gonna hide in this corner and do a black voice. That's what I'm gonna do. It makes it worse to me.
And I'm just masturbating in the corner. Do it openly. Masturbate freely.
My favorite,
No one knew we
way
were
to-
all masturbating in the corner. It felt inappropriate. It felt wrong. But it also felt so right.
I remember the first time I masturbated in the corner.
That is some
Andy
weird,
Dufresne.
wild stuff. I tell
There you go.
And my favorite way of talking about that is Stephen Colbert put it. You know, just the easy. It's punch up versus punch down, right? So it's
Right.
like if you're doing an impression to make fun of someone, like, you know, the old 50s, you know, like TV show where they'd have like a black person or an Asian person on, but it was really a white person, you know, in some kind of makeup or something. Like, that's awful.
Yeah.
But like when I do Obama, I'm not making fun of him. I love Obama. Like,
It just
you know,
helps you to put on the makeup.
But like one of my favorite the first, so not an impression, but I mean, technically, like my first accent that I really got, other than the Scrooge McDuck Scottish, was Jamaican. We went to Jamaica when I was 13, and
That's a hard one to do.
I love doing the Jamaican accent, but like now when I'm on stage, I'm like, because like I'm never making fun of Jamaicans when I do it, but I'm
Yeah.
also like, I don't want to like.
The
I don't
problem
wanna
is
take the
you're
audience out.
introing the show with that accent, and I think that's where you.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You know, and it's like, whoops, you know.
It will do that. Sometimes when we do games where you're asking for a bunch of accents, you'll get a bunch and they'll give you something that's like you don't feel like you can comfortably do in a way. So my thing is always to just go in and be like, hi, I'm from Japan.
Yeah.
How fun! What that really takes me away.
Yeah.
I'm rocking the cradle.
Rebecca De Mornay, get it?
Right, good morning.
So, okay, what was, do you remember the first impression that you came up with that was like not a cartoon or someone else's impression, but just like you just heard this person's voice and you were like, I've never heard
Well,
someone
that
else
for me that was Sean Connery. I don't believe I was stealing it from anybody.
Of course,
I can't think. I mean, I know people were doing it. I just don't
Sure.
know who was that I was watching at the time. So that would be mine.
Gotcha.
Ooh. That's a hard one because they all kind of blend in there a little bit.
Sure. I remember my first one that I came up with, at least at the time I'd never heard anyone else do, which was Stan Lee. You know, before the Marvel, you know, universe, Stan Lee was still like a niche. Not a lot of people knew who he was, and he narrated the Saturday morning cartoon Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Right.
And it was Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar. You know, and I would just Like it was because
he was old back then. That's what I love.
He's been old he's been old forever.
Mom, is it okay if I take the car out today? First. Excelsior!
I gotta play some canasta with my fellow 5-year-olds.
Editor's note, webheads.
I feel like Stan Lee just it can go straight into Peter Falk or Gilbert Gottfried.
But I love that too.
Peter
I
Falk.
love that you can sort of like break down the genome of somebody, and you're like, okay, so he's got some Peter Falk going on, but you mix it with, you know what I mean? It certainly helps. There's some strong notes. Kermit, that's a useful, to be able to do this with your voice, opens up. John C. Reilly. Oh wow! I'm so close to Kermit. It's weird that I didn't even realize.
I put Kermit and Ray Romano in the same basket.
Right. For
myself.
By the way, I saw. No, I saw this YouTube title. It was like Ray Romano remembers 9/11 or something, and I was like, I'm not clicking on it because I can already. It's already playing in my head, and I can't unplay it. I won't do it here, but it was just like,
I played softball in the Valley on Saturdays, and one of the teams has his sons on it. He has twin sons, the Romano twins. They're both on it, and like they look like him, like younger versions of him, and they'll come up and be like, throw the ball in. It's just like it's. You can't not hear it.
You got too many Ray Romanos.
Yeah,
I'm a girl. My sunflower seeds.
I'm a young girl.
I had sunflowers. Where are my sunflower seeds? I left them right here on the bench.
I feel like Ray Romano's almost Barney from The Simpsons.
That's the other thing. It's
where am I going?
You can connect them. Like, there's so many dots that you can connect.
Ray Romano, quit eating my Fruity Pebbles.
Oh. And then Marvin the Martian's like super close, right?
Yeah.
Like, I am Ray Romano from Mars.
Yes.
Exploding Pluton space modulator.
Isn't it delightful?
Cole, do you remember an impression that you came up with early on that you didn't hear someone else do?
I mean, I think early I used to do, like when I was in high school, I do like Keanu Reeves a lot, but that's not hard, in my opinion. It was just like, I would just do like the speed thing of like, all right, pop quiz, hot shot. You've got a hair trigger aimed at your forehead. What do you do? What do you do? But like it was just kind of like Valley Guy kind of thing.
And then she was like, I already have a date. I'm sorry.
Right. I think the one that I really started doing that no one else was really doing at the time was Owen Wilson. That's kind of
Your Owen Wilson is fantastic.
That's a good one. That's a good. You got good there.
Thanks, man. I do what I can, man. It's awesome to do it. It's awesome, man. The way I get into Owen Wilson, by the way, is you'll have like a trigger line that if you're trying to figure out an impression, you just say that line and you get into it. Yeah. So I developed it when Shanghai Noon was out, and there was a line he would say to Jackie Chan, like he's trying to get him to do like some acrobatic thing, and he goes, "When in our entire relationship have I ever been able to do that?" Well, like that's what I would use to like if I need to get into the headspace for it.
It's funny. It's so rare that I end up in like the lab and I'm just lazy, so I don't like develop them as much as I should. But I don't know if you guys have this experience where you're just walking along in your day and you say something and you hear yourself and you go, oh, you know who that sounds like? A mental note like that. How I naturally said that. I should unpack that and look at that because that somehow got close to somebody. I remember with Jeff Bridges, I was just driving and this woman cut me off and she had this little dog on her lap and I literally was like, "You have a dog on your lap," That's like how it came out of my I was like, "Ooh, interesting."
I feel like Jeff Bridges now has started to become a caricature of Jeff Bridges.
Oh yeah, man, he's like Jeff Bridges inside of Jeff Bridges, trapped in the Jeff Bridges dimension.
But where he is now,
that's a good Jeff Bridges.
I feel like he's transitioning into Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Puts the lotion in the basket.
Puts the lotion in the basket. Get the hose again.
Come on, man. Girl. It's the hose again.
I hate the fucking Eagles, man.
Pretty groovy. Yeah. So that I don't know if you guys have that experience, like where you accidentally fall into one.
Probably have. I don't remember anyone offhand. I do remember, like, Walken, I feel like, is one of the most overdone impressions for any comedian. However, I'd heard Jay Moore's, and I'd heard Kevin Pollak's, and a bunch of other people's, but there was a guy in my dorm my junior year of college, and I don't know if he was taking it from them or not, but he could just do this Walken in a way that it was the first time that I went, oh, I can do Walken. Not, not by hearing the other people.
The Walken was inside of you all along, Rich.
It was here, and And the thing that I discovered about walking, was that for me, what goes well is when you start high and then go to gravel, right? So you start here and you're walking, but then you go down here, right? And like
that, I love that part of walking. There's a movie he did with like Dwayne Johnson or something, and I was
rundown.
Rundown. You got guts. He says something like, "You know what I like about you? You got guts." And I just love that part.
And also, I think it might have been Jay Moore or Kevin has said it, like, it's making one syllable words 2 syllables. So no is not no, it's no.
No.
Doing it like that. That's like one key to it as well.
Yeah.
I actually got into walking. I backed into him through Shatner. Because Shatner, I discovered Shatner before I discovered walking, really. And, Shatner is, I realized, well, one of the things I figured out later in life was there's different levels of impressions and different things. And one of them is a cadence impression. And I think Shatner's a cadence impression and walking's a cadence one.
And to define that, cadence is rhythm, right?
Yeah. The rhythm of the way you speak the words.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum,
and I think there's Jeff Goldblum, same thing. It's so there's like, if you can get the cadence down, that's, it just, you could, that's like 3 different impressions. You're just knowing how to pause. Like you can, and so there were verbal ones, there were tone ones, and then there was cadence ones. And Shatner was the one I realized that's what it is. And I use that, like, if you just adjust the cadence a little bit, you can bounce into a couple different guys just off of that rhythm.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, Obama definitely is a cadence one.
Oh yeah.
You got the rhythms of his speech.
When a couple years ago, Goldblum did Sketchfest, and I got introduced to him by Kevin introduced me to him, and like that, my impression now of Goldblum is just the story of when I met Goldblum, because it's like the most Goldblum.
But him telling it,
right? But it's
the time he met Cole.
It's the most Goldbloomy thing in the world, because like basically he introduced me. He's like, "Oh, hey, this is Cole Stratton, I'm the co-founder of the festivals," and he went like, I'm dumbfounded. I'm perplexed. True or false? True or false? These pants are on their maiden voyage tonight. True or false?
His
true?
pants are your pants.
His pants. True? That's correct. It is true. It is true. I mean, that's literally the 2 sentences he said to me, and I was like, "Okay,
you are
Jeff Goldblum." And
Story checks out. You are Jeff Goldblum.
You are Jeff Goldblum.
I don't need to see any identification.
Yep.
I think the Jeff Goldblum thing that I don't have a great Goldblum, but I do like when he goes like, "Yes." That part. Oh, yeah, here we are.
Oh, that's a perfect segue into my next segment, because what I want to ask about was there's some impressions that I do that I can literally only do them for like one sentence. But like I couldn't like improvise a whole conversation in their voice.
Right.
But like, for example, Ed Sullivan, I go, "Oh, he's a really good shoe," But like beyond that, like I can't talk as Ed Sullivan. Like, do you have impressions where you're like,
that's not on the SNL
moment?
reel for you?
No, it's not. Like, what are some impressions that you can only do like an isolated version, or if you have them?
Steve Buscemi for me, which is just come on, man, martinis are for squares. Like that's kind of
yeah. I feel like I had Steve Buscemi and lost Steve Buscemi, but it was about a sentence, and it was something like from Armageddon, like that's compressed iron ferrite, something like that. That thing he's always saying.
Yeah. Seth,
I've been trying to get down Doofenshmirtz. He's the villain from Phineas and Ferb. If you don't want, it's a great cartoon, amazing. But the villain is this guy named Doofenshmirtz, and he just has this, Barney the Platypus, what are you doing? And it's just this great voice, and it's so fun to do because he's so crazy. But I've just been like, it's almost like a little Yoda. So if you take a little off Yoda and but keep this, if you take away the random syntax and word changing of Yoda, you got Doofenshmirtz. And so I've been working on that one. But
it's funny, those one sentence ones when you're forced to do one in an improv show and you feel the audience fall out of love with you.
Oh yes.
Past that sentence, that's always sad.
It's the same thing too. Like when we pimp each other out, like there's certain impressions we know we're on stage together. We know we do well.
Yeah.
and my whole thing with improv, yes, it's an improvised show, but there's no problem with doing greatest hits, aka impressions, things that you know are going to kill. It gets the audience on your side and helps you move forward with it too.
It's the classic structure of like, hey, here's some winners, here's some ones that I don't know, and and then let's end with something big. If you can get that rhythm, I always think that's probably the most satisfying version.
So I didn't know if I was debating whether to tell the story or not, but I will. Kevin Pollack, who I ran into at an event before quarantine happened, and he has recently developed a game called One Word Impressions. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about this?
I think I did.
I played it with him. It's fun.
Yeah. And the concept is you get one word to try and get an impression across, and that's it. And it can't be a word that person is known for saying.
Oh, that's so much harder, right?
And the way that Kevin came up with it, and this is a true story. I'm sorry, Kevin, for sharing this. But he was driving to the store, and suddenly he remembered something on his list, and he said it like
Liam Neeson.
Like Liam Neeson from Taken.
Oh, okay.
So he's just driving, and he goes, bananas.
Bananas.
And in his head, he's like, what just happened?
Why did that happen?
And so this is a game he now plays with other people who can do voices. Is he just like, you just walk up, give him one voice. And it's, to me, that's playing on a different level. Like thinking about it, just break it down to one word if you can.
Do you ever find yourselves in a situation where someone's written a sketch and they're like, oh, you do impressions and here's an impression, or it's one you do, or maybe it's one you could develop for the sketch, but they've written the character in a way that has nothing to do with their point of view and the words that they say, and you're like, God damn it, this is going to be impossible. It's like you want those money words if you can get them in there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a high level of ability if you can do it with bananas. For sure.
Yep. Right?
Bananas.
So
that's my one word I've stolen from Kevin is I can say bananas.
I want to do just scenes where we're all serve somebody, you know what I mean? Just like 4 Liam Neesons trying to,
That's what I had next. Was I thought like we could do the 4 of us could like all do like one thing and then split us out. I just
watched him last night in one. He makes these movies. I swear to God, he makes 10 movies a month. I just I don't even know that there's just one unknown I didn't even know he made, which is like a classic psychological thriller where like he's unconscious and he wakes up and his wife doesn't remember him. Like it's always the wife is gone or doesn't remember you. But I just love it. I love when they make him play an American. He's like, I'm from New Hampshire. I'm an American citizen. I'm like, your story does not check out, sir.
Most of the time when Brits play Americans, they do the Southern accent because that's what they think like Americans are. Because it's just hard to have like a nondescript American accent for those that aren't from here. But it's easy for them to go into the Southern drawl because that's what they think you are. They also think we talk super slow. That's a thing. So that's why they slow everything down because they think that's how we talk, which is.
I've also been told recently that apparently everyone in Europe thinks that that everyone in America is like the people from Tiger King. So
right.
And that really, it's just like 60 to 70%.
Yeah, with your Southern thing, we just watched Knives Out.
Oh yeah,
great movie.
And that Southern impression the whole time, it's like, oh, buddy.
I enjoyed it. I did.
It's just such a weird, bold choice.
The hole has its own hole. It is a bold choice. That is for sure. For James Bond to come in and do. Foghorn Leghorn.
It's weird when you're accustomed to somebody in a certain accent doing a thing. Because I just watched a series called Safe, which Michael C. Hall's in, but it's British, so he has a British accent the whole time. So it's kind of like, but you're not. I haven't heard. You're not. And then you get used to it after like the first episode. You're like, whatever. But at first, it just feels false to you because you know that they're.
Yeah. Every time you hear an American doing a British accent, it could be the most perfect British accent. There's a part of me that's like, is this good? Are British people fooled?
Right.
All right, what do we do this? All right, we're all going to assume the same impression, and whether it's in your real or not, let's just give it a shot, see what happens. What if we are 4 Doc Browns from Back to the Future, and we're all discussing the coronavirus? We got a minute. Go.
Marty, you got the Rona.
You gotta get back to your house immediately.
Social distance, Marty. You gotta socially distance.
We're out of toilet paper.
You got a dry cough, Marty. Listen to yourself. You got your fever is 88.1.
Oh, wow, Doc. That's heavy, Doc. That's heavy.
Are you telling me
so good.
that I got it from licking a doorknob?
Why were you looking at a doorknob anyway, Marty? Huh?
All right, scene. Good. Nailed
Marty,
it. All right, love it.
I got some toilet paper for you, Doc. Great Scott, Charmin. That's sure Scott's it. Never mind. Go ahead.
God, Cole, I think I knew that you had a Michael J. Fox, but I'd forgotten, and God, it's good.
Oh.
It's always fun. It's always fun when you can pivot from one to the like the complimentary one. You know, you're like, yeah.
So here's
what.
what I'd love to throw this question out there.
Yeah,
what's an impression you think you do that you don't think anyone else has in their barrel? Like what's the unique one that you can bring to the table, or at least a few of them? Because mine, the two that I've been working with recently that I haven't really heard that many other people do is Tim Gunn from Project Runway.
Oh,
I just love him so much. I love him so much. What? Make it work. Let's get this. I see it's a statement piece, but what's the statement? It's really facial.
Nice.
So I've been like, I love that show. I love it's magic.
Wow.
But what else you got? Like, what are you guys bringing out that you think no one's got
heat.
yet?
Bring out the heat, huh?
I mean, I do a pretty good Michael Caine. I don't see a lot of people doing that.
Oh, the Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. The key to doing Michael Caine is just talking like this. Being confident about everything you do and putting it at the top of your mouth. That's the main thing. I'll see you, Master Way.
Love it. I listened to Michael Caine's autobiography about a year ago, and I couldn't get out of his voice for about a month after that. I think I've lost it, but yeah, Michael Caine, yeah, it's great.
Michael Caine.
It's funny. I think we've all dabbled in a lot of these. Like, I don't know if I have a lot of like, oh, here's my ace in the hole or something. But it's a lesser done one. Is Patrick Warburton, who I love. I'm sure we some of us do them here.
No, it's great.
It's kind of he's really down here, and he's I've been stuck inside wiping my ass with junk mail. Forgot to get the TP.
Oh, I love him so much in Ember's New Groove. Like as he's
right.
Isma. Got it. Poison to kill it. Goose goes poison. Got it right here.
He's like the safety video guy and soaring over California at Disney.
Oh yeah.
So I've been on the ride a billion times, so I've kind of memorized everything. But the thing I always say along with him in his voice was when the kid buckles up and he goes, "Nice work, pal."
Another really comforting presence.
Oh yeah.
I know that other people.
Good job, real good job. So the one that I do that no one does is one that everyone does.
Yeah. Mine's kind of the same, and mine's like only comedians know he is anyway. But not a lot of people like do him. Probably because he's not well known. But Mitch Hedberg, like I love doing the Mitch Hedberg voice. Like, this shirt is dry clean only, which means it's dirty. You know? I'm against picketing, but I don't know how to show it. You know?
I do Bjork. Not a lot of people do Bjork.
I didn't never. Please,
Bjork, really?
Yes, I do, Bjork. It is fun for me to be doing because sometimes the cars go boom, smash. She's just kind of embarrassed. She seems embarrassed to talk about anything ever, and so she does her best because she's a wooden fairy.
I'll be honest with you. That's nightmare fuel. That is
nightmare fuel. And
that's funny. For me, that's a shameful boner. Tomato. Actually, I did think of one that no one does because why would anyone? There's a woman. There's a character actor in L.A. Confidential. This woman, and she's like calls them in, and there's like a dead body under her porch, like Ms. Leffords, I think her name is. And she's, I think a rat died down there.
Oh yeah,
she's got these like Coke bottle glasses.
I've never seen LA Confidential, but that sounded so Zoolander to me.
I'll challenge you with that one. The one most random one I could never use because it's never appropriate is the fight announcer from Karate Kid.
Oh yeah.
All right, Daniel LaRusso is gonna fight. How's the knee, son? No one needs that. But I can nail him.
I think that guy
nail that impression.
His own storyline.
Miyagi-Do karate.
They should follow that guy in season 3 of Cobra Kai.
That kind of sounds like why is his name escaping me? The guy from the Righteous Gemstones.
Andy McBride.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like Danny McBride a little bit.
Oh,
Write that down. There you go. You just did it. You just did the
Do a
thing.
transition. There you go.
Yeah, you could easily jump into Danny McBride.
Bananas. He just did a bananas.
Here's we're gonna play some real inside baseball here because I know we can all do it. At least Dan, I don't think I've ever heard you do this, but I'm sure.
Oh, good.
You could.
So I'll fail. Excellent.
I'm sure you could, but I know I've heard Seth and Cole do this, and I know I can do it. We can do an impression of a friend of ours.
Oh shit!
Oh god!
Yeah, who's in Mission Improbable? James Heaney.
James.
Oh,
Heaney.
James Heaney. I'm not around him a ton. I think I've accidentally talked like him before, but I don't have his voice as clear in my head as you guys probably do.
He's one of the most beautiful human beings in the world, and he's just got a very effective way of just talking naturally. And for anyone who's watching this who doesn't know James Heaney, sorry, but hopefully it'll be entertaining. Way. What if 4 James Heaneys were discussing? I'm
just going to record what I hear from you guys.
Yeah. You'll just do an impression on the
I'll jump in at the end.
What if 4 James Heaneys were talking about what it's like to be on a Zoom call? Go.
I don't really understand what these things are. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm happy to be here, but I might just sit back. I might just sit back and relax.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, I feel like the technology's difficult. I'll do my best.
You guys, boys and girls, come here tonight, 9 p.m. Watch this Zoom call. Come tonight, watch the show.
He's just shy of Harry Carey impression.
Just shy.
Just like almost there. Good. James Heaney, that one was for you because we love you, buddy. Fantastic.
Yeah,
it's a high compliment.
He also sounds unlike Bob Odenkirk. If you listen to Bob Odenkirk talk and then listen to James talk, you don't realize it, but their voice and where it is.
They are very similar. You're
I
right.
can see that.
Very similar.
Or I can hear that. Yeah.
So can you do Bob Odenkirk then, Cole?
Not really.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I could bust out a Bob Odenkirk if I...
I sent you the ones you could ask me to do ahead of this call, Rich. You're not sticking to the list.
I actually wrote down a list.
Nice.
Oh, no, I've got my little notepad over here.
Yeah, Cole's typed up.
Well, that's from when we did the Castor Troy show at the theater. We had a sheet that had, basically this has everybody's, when we were doing it, what their impression list was.
Wow.
We rehearsed this is like Lauren O'Brien, me, Joyce Scabuzzo, and Byron Kennerly. Like those were the lists of things that we did.
Fantastic.
Because we did a thing where we put all these up on the board so then people could pimp us out at any time to do it.
I could tell you exactly who's on some of those lists, by the way. I know. I know.
Well, that's what's so great
Nick
about
Cage is definitely on Byron's.
Knowing each other's impressions, you can set people up.
And Pacino is definitely on Scavuzzo's.
That's his first one.
Castor Troy, for those that don't know, was the villain in Face Off, played by Nicolas Cage, a film about swapping identities. So I assume...
Oh, the bees! Thank you.
The bees! We're going to find the Constitution!
Come on!
The treasure protector.
It's a show we used to do at the theater where we would improvise movie trailers that didn't exist. So we had 30 random tracks of different score.
Right.
So we would get a name for a movie that didn't exist, and then they give us a number.
So
we hit that
Al
track.
Pacino.
Yeah. And
Rebecca De Mornay.
One of us would be on a microphone being the narrator, and the other 2 would be in it, and they would just pop in and out of it. So we tried to set it up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
That'd be a really fun. I'm sure that's been done a million times, as an improv game. I mean, just in an MI show.
Yeah.
We gave out 3D glasses to everybody, and I made a trailer sign that was actually in 3D. So we the following trailer is rated PG or whatever. We pushed that into the audience, so that would be in 3D to them. And then we would do the thing. We did it for the 3-on-3 tournament. The first time they did it without Lauren, and we won our night, and then we lost to Al Garcia and his parents because you can't beat that.
Sure.
As an improv.
His parents have been doing improv for 30 years.
Yeah. So. And they were mostly talking in Spanish, and it was tough. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's a hard
Did you ever do the Red Band trailer?
No.
You should do one and then follow it up with okay, here's the Red Band.
Here's the Red Band.
I said, I'm not fucking going in there.
Well, that's the thing about Pacino, right? Because there's young Pacino, right, from And Justice for All, we got here, a higher voice, right? Yeah. And then, but most of us do the older Pacino,
oh yeah,
Al Pacino,
It's Son of a Woman on, basically.
Yeah,
basically.
Son of a Woman. I mean, I remember I was in Vegas and I lost $100, and this was my bananas moment where I went, "Oh, Charlie," just oh.
All right, I got some challenges here I prepared. Let's give them a shot. Cole, I want you to play a stereotypical British soccer hooligan, and I'd like you to interview Seth. You got a Jimmy Stewart, right?
I have one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I want you. So Jimmy Stewart is interviewing for a job and is being interviewed by a soccer hooligan.
Oh, is this your resume then? Is this what I'm fucking looking at? Is this your fucking resume, you twat? Is this your fucking res? Is this your fucking resi? What the fuck is this? What would you work before? What'd you do?
Well, I worked several places actually. Many of them were non-for-profit, but I want to get out there and I want to make my mark on the world.
Well, we got up positions here, right? What are you fucking good at? What's your skill set? Do you have a particular set of skills? What the fuck are they, you twat, cunt, whatever, fuck? I'm not a nice person. I say awful things.
Well, I've discovered bodies. I've been a lawyer. I've captured the moon and put it in my pocket.
Scene. Oh god, that's amazing. I love it.
Oh wow, yeah, this is definitely explicit
Soccer
language.
hooligan. I like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
What the
this
fuck are you
is-
doing?
All right, soccer hooligan.
I
I love that about British TV and the word cunt. It's just like, welcome to the morning cunt show. You know, it's a cunty day outside today.
Oh god, I love it. Dan, how about you're Matthew McConaughey and
Okay.
I'm Clint Eastwood and you're coaching me through childbirth.
All right, Clinton, you got this. Clint, you got this.
It's hard. It's
All
very
right,
hard.
you just gotta breathe. You just gotta breathe. You just gotta feel that energy.
The contractions there.
You just gotta you gotta push that baby out through your urethra. Come on, you can do this.
Hold my hand. Hold my hand.
All right, you got a real tight grip there, Clint. You're real strong.
I
Okay,
don't feel
I was giving birth to babies before it was. All right, I know what I'm doing.
Hey, okay.
I hate how good your McConaughey is. That is
Oh,
such
thank
a
you.
good fucking
So
McConaughey. It's so
Mine's
subtle.
just all right.
I know it's so tempting to use that to get in. I might have. I don't even know. Usually, all right. There it is.
There it is.
Got it. Give me a second.
Great.
I gotta go over here and do it. Okay, I'm ready.
Hey Cole, you got a Christian Bale's Batman, right?
I guess I do. I don't really do it. Seth
right.
does. That's a Seth thing.
All right,
Yeah.
Seth, you want to do Christian Bale's Batman?
Sure.
All right, and then Dan Oster, how about Rocky Balboa?
All right.
Right, Christian
What's the more satisfying order of starting? Does it matter?
Christian Bale's Batman is giving tech support to Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, I don't feel like the computer turn on. I'm not sure what I'm doing.
Are you sure the device is plugged in?
Yeah, it's plugged into the wall, plugged it in.
It's a power surge protector. If you don't have a surge protector, you're just going to destroy your hard drive.
Is a power strip the same as a surge protector?
Sir, consult your manual before you call it in again.
Yeah, I can't read.
How did you buy a computer?
I found it.
Scene. Oh god.
I need you back in the ring, Rock.
Oh jeez.
Don't know what a ring is.
All right.
Actually, I love Early Stallone. I think Early Stallone is such a fun impression because he is so marbled mouthed in Rocky.
Yeah.
Like he just intentionally makes himself sound worse.
He's
and just-
acting. I mean, he's actually acting in Rocky.
Yeah.
But it's like, here's my turtle as a cuff, and this is Link, and I keep my cuff and Link together. You can't keep them apart. Why would you do that?
It's funny. I
know,
would
he
argue
still
that
has those
Sylvester
turtles,
Stallone is
by the
almost the opposite of that thing where, like, as they get older, they get more fun to do. I think early Stallone is more fun. I don't even now. What is it even?
Early Stallone is so much, and now he's like really, yeah. Like, oh, making a movie, doing stuff. It's like it's way easier to do like
a
the
lot of
early
plastic
Rambo, early
surgery,
Rocky kind of thing.
I look like I've been made up in a coffin.
Cole, how about you bust out with your Kermit, and I'm gonna be
Okay.
Dr. Evil, and I'm on a ledge about to jump, and you're talking me off the ledge.
Okay, let me just have some tea.
I swear, I'm going to jump. I'm just going to do it.
No, you
Just
shouldn't
going
do
to
that.
jump.
You've got a lot of things to live for. I mean, we all love you. Yay! I mean, I think it would be good if you you don't jump.
My son has left me. I have no plan.
Well, you're not alone. I brought some friends here to this is the hacky thing. Some friends here to help get you off the ledge.
Are they evil friends?
Never before.
Oh.
Never again. Waka waka.
Same.
My good friend Liam Neeson is here.
Bananas.
Bananas. I was
This
eating a
looks
banana.
familiar.
It's a good piggy.
Where's my
Vaguely
wife?
That's a great
familiar. Thanks.
Oh my god. Awesome. How about? I feel like we got to end with Walken, right? Because he's so fun. He's just so fun to do. Well, how about this? Walken. I'll leave it up to you. Did I freeze there for a second? Walken or Gilbert Gottfried? What do you prefer?
Oh, geez. I feel like Walken has levels, whereas Gilbert Gottfried is just like, I'm Gilbert Gottfried. I'm very loud.
It's just this over and over.
It's
It's
just
all he
this.
does.
I'm so loud.
I think we're doing Gilbert Gottfried. I think we're already doing it.
I made some inappropriate tweets. I'm sorry.
Let me tell you my joke about 9/11 on 9/12.
Yeah. As the Aflac goose.
All right.
All right,
Walken
sorry.
it is. Walken it is. All right. Let's 4 Walkens talking about how the world is going to be changed once we are no longer in quarantine. We'll end it on that.
Well, what you have to understand is this world keeps moving. It's a blue sphere that we're riding on a spaceship through time and space together. So once we can touch, feel again.
Humans might not make it out of this. But one thing that will is obsidian cats. The hairless is wonderful. You should raise them. They make great pets.
Cats are the most durable of all the animals. Cats will eventually be the dominant life form on the planet.
I had a neighbor once who died, and a cat ate her.
Cats. It was a movie. I saw the movie. Didn't
What did you
understand
think?
it.
I'll tell you, Idris Elba. Wow, what a talent!
Wow.
Wow.
I'm signed up to make a prequel called Kittens. Not sure who I'm going to play. Maybe a young Rumpelteazer or Mr. Mistopheles. It's up in the air.
Are you
at this
going to
point.
meow when you do it? That's the question. You got to meow.
I didn't even know cats could sing, let alone talk. I'm impressed when they started talking. More impressed when they started singing.
The first thing I thought of when I saw the film was the sandboxes have to be huge. I mean, these are giant creatures. Where are they pooping?
In the audition, I remember I walked in and immediately I licked my nuts.
I told them if I agree to do this pod, the main thing is I need to have a pronounced butthole.
Oh god. Okay.
Then there it is.
Release the butthole cut.
The butthole.
gosh.
I got. Can I throw something at you, Rich,
Yeah,
before
please,
we wrap?
please,
Is there any? I think we all might be in this camp. I don't know if is there a time limit on this show. Does it have to be
it's
under?
whatever.
Okay. Just interminable. That's the length we're going for. Is there anything that anybody wanted to do that they didn't get to do? I think that's a good question. You know, I go, I hope I could get this in, and I did.
Oh yeah. That's a great question.
What do you got, Cole? I saw your head bopping.
Well, as you probably know from MI, I tend to do Adam Sandler a lot.
Yeah, I love your Adam Sandler.
It's not that hard to do. The main thing is to find a place to be and then get there. You gotta be kind of lazy about it at first, but then stop looking at me, Swan. He also Adam Sandler's. The main thing, Adam Sandler's. It looks like he always rolled out of bed. Always, he doesn't look like he wants to be there.
Always rolled out of bed. Always.
Yep. He's always just kind of wearing shorts and tennis shoes and
Always got the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, o'clock shadow.
It's a power move.
Dan, you have one that you wanted to do?
Sure. Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
back with Picard. He's old, but now he's the old Patrick Stewart. He's a little different. But I always like obviously the Next Generation era, you know. But the bit that I like to do is he did this one man show of A Christmas Carol. If everybody remembers that, in the '90s, he was touring around doing all the characters in the Christmas Carol, and I did a sketch where he was doing a one man Christmas story. So, when I was a boy, I wanted a Red Ryder BB gun, but they told me I'd shoot my eye out.
That's
Make it snow.
that's magic.
That's the one I want.
Oh, that's
Now he's old though. Now it's like Logan. Logan.
Still playing Picard.
The one I still had in the chamber was Nick Offerman. I've been looking at him for a
I love
while.
your Nick Offerman.
And so I do that actually. Sometimes I'll do it for a game we play called Sex is Like, where you just go out and do, sex puns. But he's got a very he's a rhythm, but he's also a tone. Because I want to tell you how to work with wood. And when I mean wood, I mean decent American pieces of wood. Nothing foreign. Nothing ever.
Very good. Very good.
And it's just a fun, there's just something about the way he delivers information that is just so satisfying to say.
It's interesting. I don't know if anybody, we talked a little bit about the various things you can sort of pick up on. We talked, about cadence and tone and things like that. What he's saying in that impression is good. The writing of it, the point of view, that can also be very helpful. And that sounds like his mentality. I don't know if anyone here does. I don't really do facial stuff. That's another one. If you can get like a face, I've never been particularly good at that.
I break my nose every time I do Owen Wilson. It's tough, but it's worth it for the impression.
You're committed. You're a committed actor. I know it's super hack, but I love doing old Woody Allen. It's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend had to break up recently because we found out with two different religions. She's agnostic and I'm an atheist, so we didn't know which religion to not raise the children in.
It's an impression right now that's aged really well.
Yeah, I want to hear. All right, this is Woody Allen defending the publishing of his autobiography.
People need to hear about Sleeper.
It's just, and it's my favorite, I think, line I quote from is from Annie Hall is, they say that if sharks don't keep swimming, then they die, and maybe that's our relationship's like a dead shark. Good stuff. All right, you guys want to plug anything?
I'm going to be here for a while. So if anyone needs me,
This bit never gets old. Like, I was late because of traffic, or I'm just going to be in my apartment. It's great.
Yeah, I'm here all month.
Actually, I do have shit to plug, weirdly.
Yeah, no, that's great.
The West Side Comedy Theater, where we all do stuff at, is doing a series of shows to try to stay afloat in these times where they're free, but they kind of hope that you pay $6 or whatever.
Like a donation thing?
Yeah, like a donation thing. Pretty Pony, which is a show I run monthly there. We're doing a show on Friday, April 17th, I believe that's the date, at 7 p.m. And we have a guest monologist who is Tony Hale. So that will be pretty cool. So that'll be a really fun show. So if people come to that, you just go to twitch.tv/West Side Comedy Theater.
Is it easier to book people now because they don't have an excuse?
Way easier. I'm just literally thinking about the people that live on the east side or live a little further out, or I have families that just won't come out at a Thursday at 10 p.m.
Right.
So I literally asked Tony immediately. He's like, "Yep," and I was like, "Cool, that was the easiest it's ever been."
That's fantastic. And Tony, who does a lot of voice work, he was in the latest Toy Story.
Yep, Forky.
Yeah. Forky. Seth, you got anything to plug?
In the next few weeks, it's not available yet. My book will be released.
Yeah,
which is called The Barstool Theories, a late night crossfaded conversation that may just explain all of human behavior. It is a think piece that presents a lot of crazy theories on behavior that I've amassed over the last couple of years, and it's pretty crazy. But it'll be available on Amazon through the Amazon, through the same. I can see Rich's book right behind him.
What, this whole thing?
Yes, I have a copy. But yeah, that'll look for that by the end of April. If you're watching this and it's past April, it should be available on Amazon.com. And once again, that's the Barstool Theories.
I can't wait.
I should plug something.
Please.
Just so I don't get left out. I have a podcast that I started doing with my friend Doug Leaf of 20 years. It's called A Podcast But Evil. And every week we do a deep dive into a different villain And we've done fictional ones like Dracula and Medusa, but we've also done Al Capone and Jack the Ripper. I think this week it's Lex Luthor. And it's a lot of fun. And my favorite part of it is at the end of every episode, we do a matchup of who would win between this week's villain and the previous week's villain. And sometimes it's great. You're like, oh man, like Lex Luthor versus the Wicked Witch. Like, oh, how would that go? And then sometimes it's like Jack the Ripper versus Cthulhu. This is gonna be a short one.
Well, it depends. How was Cthulhu dressed?
Yeah, he was asking for it. But anyway, it's called A Podcast But Evil, and you can find it on, I think, wherever podcasts are streamed.
Excellent.
Nice.
Guys, thank you so much. This was so much fun. So many voices. This is just, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Exit, stage right, stage left, even.
What if Snagglepuss was leaving a streaming show?
I gotta go home. Wait, I already am home.
You shall not end.